Welcome to Leading Organizations That Matter, a podcast about leadership and how we find meaning and joy in our work and lives. I'm Ray Spadoni, and today's topic is I'm great at multitasking. Yeah, right. Technology has promised a lot. We can move faster, better, cheaper, and in a manner that connects us together in very powerful ways. You don't need me to tick through the list, but for instance, video conferencing has made the world a lot smaller. I interact with clients all around the country from the comforts of my home office. When I started in my career in the 1980s, my assistant would always ask me whenever I was working on a client deliverable, do you want me to fax it, overnight it, or regular mail it? And we had to stop and think about that. Today, we just email a document and it's there in seconds. And here, at the dawn of the age of AI, things will only continue in this direction and at breakneck speed. I could go on. It's a long list, but again, you don't need me to go through it. You already know. But I bet you also know about the backlash. There are a lot of experts with research to back their claims who talk about the downside to all of this. We're more connected, but also more lonely. We increasingly rely on AI tools, but are losing our ability to write and think at the same time. Anxiety is up, depression's up. Doom scrolling has given way to an increasing sense of actual doom among all of us, especially younger generations who grew up with all this. Screen addiction is real. I'll speak for myself on this point. I grab my phone way too often. When I have a second to think, to breathe, to observe, to reflect, instead, I grab something that glows, stare into it, and completely lose the moment. Yep. The experts are talking about all this, and yes, the research is compelling. We've gained, but we've lost. And here's the rub. We all now multitask in ways that were not possible in the past. We need mental stimulation, and the boredom that comes from the lack of it is actually uncomfortable. Witness all the split screen viewing we now do. Broadcast news tells us the news, but also shows us through bottom, top, and side scrolls of headlines. Restaurants have monitors scattered throughout so that those few painful seconds when we look up from our phones can be remedied by the basketball game or 18th hole putts. Let's be completely honest. When you're on a Zoom meeting, don't you also have emails up and browsers open so that you can fill the seemingly unproductive and boring gaps in the meeting with something, quote, productive? We've all been trained to think and behave this way. We've been trained by those who benefit from our addictions. They, and you know who they are, want us planted onto our screens. They, and you know who they are, tell us that we're more productive, connected, and happier. They, yeah, and you know who they are, hire the best brains available to get us addicted. Video game manufacturers have been doing it for years. Social media platforms, same thing. YouTube is my Achilles heel. I'll jump on to watch a video on how to fix error code 41 on my Xerox printer, and before I know it, I'm watching videos of monkeys stealing food from tourists in a place called Jakku Temple in India, or people falling off of skateboards in Central Park. The next thing I know is a half an hour went by and my printer still doesn't work. So, what are we to do about this sort of thing? We have a choice to make. I guess you could say, on the one hand, hey, this is progress. It's fine, and it's the future. And anybody who disagrees is, destined to be locked in the past, can't adapt. They'll be left behind. And who wants that? Or we could say, no, the backlash has begun. People are fighting back against the addiction, against the you know who's. People are buying vinyl records again so that they're not constantly connected into the always listening streaming services. Paper and pens have made a comeback. Film cameras are selling again. Dumb, or at least dumbed down phones are being introduced. Celebrities are wearing wired earphones as a subtle statement against the corporate machine. It's all backlash. So, in the midst of all this, I've been wondering, what can I do to push back, to lessen the addiction, to be, in a way, the runner who enters the room in the famous Apple Macintosh ad and who fires a rock up at the screen that has mesmerized and controlled the masses, a la George Orwell's 1984. What can I myself do? Well, here's a, I think, simple suggestion. Start batching. Retrain your brain so that you become more present and in the moment. This is what I mean. Whenever a thought comes into my brain, I record it. Productivity experts say that that's really important. Act as quickly as possible on such items. Anything less would be to sweep it under the rug where it could get lost. So we record information down on our devices, we compile lists, and we try to get stuff done, often simultaneously. This prompts the multitasking instinct that we have. We say, hey, I'm in a video meeting. I see that thing there on my screen I have to do. I know. I'll get it done while that guy there is yammering on about nothing. Boom. Look at me. I'm awesome. I get stuff done. Of course, you have to step out of the moment to do that. And who knows? Maybe that guy said something important or that I really should remember. Or maybe even asked me a question I didn't hear because I was lost in being so darn productive. I'm talking about intentionality, about being present, about being mindful, about shutting off the part of us that actually believes deep down that we're good at multitasking. We're not. We're good at shuffling, at bobbing back and forth between stimuli. Our brains cannot simultaneously do two meaningful things at the exact same time. We can only do one meaningful thing while the rest of our brain, make sure that we respirate and pump blood to our organs and so forth. But two complex tasks cannot be done simultaneously. We shuffle between them. That's the falsehood. That's the lie. That's what we bought. It's time to unbuy it. If you're old enough, you may remember batching. We had a pad of paper or a notebook and we wrote things down for later. Then, if we were disciplined, we returned to it. We returned to it when later came around and then we did something with those items. Sometimes we did something like called Brenda to tell her we need the breakdown report. Sometimes we recorded it so we could remember things like the Einstein quote, never memorize something that you can look up. Or we did something like journaled so that we might fully process and think through that thing. Like the time I wrote down, I should do a podcast episode on the topic of batching. I think that being present in the moment requires batching. And then with whatever batch we create, we need to set a time very intentionally, very specifically, time to process it. That takes practice, discipline, and commitment. but I believe it's a good and important first step to reclaiming our peace. I don't think that there are a ton of people out there getting crazy rich selling pens and paper. The real money comes from electronics, code, subscriptions, hype, and myth. Again, we have a choice. Buy in or push back. And I think it's worth considering which team you're on. Thanks for listening. Leaving a positive review and letting others know about this podcast will help a great deal. My mission is to help empower organizations that matter by supporting those who lead them. I offer coaching, mentoring, and consulting services. You can learn more about me and my work at raysbedoni.com.